At 6:12 on Friday morning, Evan watches a $3,000 paycheck hit his checking account. Then $80 leaves. Then $55. Another $45 is scheduled before the next paycheck. He bought nothing that morning. Those charges came from ordinary purchases made weeks earlier. His paycheck arrived partly spent. How did three small payments claim part of his paycheck? And what simple check could stop the next plan? The answer begins with several reasonable choices. Rewind 6 weeks. The microwave had stopped heating evenly. A replacement cost $320 during a week already crowded with groceries, gas, and routine bills. The checkout screen offered another number. $80 today. He could replace it now while keeping most of his cash in checking. He tapped Pay in 4. A typical Pay in 4 plan charges about 25% at checkout, then schedules 3 more payments over the following weeks. Timing and fees vary by provider. In this fictional example, he brought the microwave home, his account dropped by only $80, and 3 more $80 charges quietly appeared on his calendar. That was the reward. The problem was gone, the next few days felt less tight, and the balance still looked healthy. The cost had already started. It just did not feel like a cost yet. He did not study the future dates. They looked far enough apart to belong to different weeks and small enough to handle whenever they arrived. His balance was visible at a glance. The future due dates were scattered and easy to ignore. Because the balance barely moved, paying in 4 felt safer, even though the microwave still cost $320. 1 week later, the household needed shoes and school clothes. Total price, $180. The checkout screen did not lead with $180. It led with $45 today. The first microwave payment had not caused a crisis. The checking account still looked normal. So another small plan felt less like taking on debt and more like smoothing out an awkward week. He tapped again. Another week later, the vacuum started failing. A replacement cost $220. Or on the checkout screen, $55 today. He tapped again. Now there were 3 plans. But they did not feel like one decision. They lived in different order confirmations from different stores on different dates. Each reminder arrived alone. Each amount looked small enough to dismiss. $80, $45, $55. He never saw one screen that placed all 3 plans under the same upcoming paycheck. Days passed, the calendar filled with little payment dates, but no single date looked dramatic. One reminder appeared while he was making dinner. Another arrived during the workday. He cleared each one and moved on. The plans did not share one label in his banking app. They appeared as separate store names, so nothing on the screen announced that 3 ordinary purchases had become one combined claim on the same income. There was no giant purchase, no obvious emergency, no moment that felt irresponsible. Each item was useful, and each individual withdrawal still looked easy enough to absorb. That is why the stack remained almost invisible. Then payday came. The same $3,000 deposit appeared. An $80 microwave installment left. A $55 vacuum installment left. A $45 clothing installment was due 1 week later, still before the next paycheck. Inside that one pay window, the total claim was $180. Separately, every payment passed the small payment test. Together, they looked like one decision for the first time. $180 already committed before the next paycheck. Then he looked back at the purchases themselves. The microwave was $320. The clothes were $180. The vacuum was $220. Together, that was $720 of spending. Across those 3 checkouts, only $180 had felt visible up front. The other $540 had been attached to future dates. That was the moment the checkout number stopped making sense. The amount due today was only the visible edge of the full purchase. But $180 can still sound small against a $3,000 paycheck. So the next question is not whether the installment's clear. It is what they remove. In this example, $2,300 in essential expenses was due before the following payday. He also wanted to protect a $300 buffer instead of treating every remaining dollar as spendable. Without the installment stack, the math was simple. $3,000 paycheck minus $2,300 of essentials minus the $300 protected buffer. That left $400 of real room. After adding the $180 installment stack, the room fell to $220. The payments did not make him instantly broke. They made his margin thinner. And thin margin often looks harmless until normal life asked for it. A few days later, the car needed a $380 repair. This was not a dramatic engine failure. It was a routine repair he could not put off for long. He had $220 in spendable room. The repair was $380. That left a $160 shortfall before touching the $300 buffer. He could put the repair on a credit card, delay it, open another payment plan, or break the buffer he meant to protect. He paid cash. The missing $160 came out of the buffer, cutting it from $300 to $140. For the first time, he placed the repair receipt beside the 3 installment dates. None of the purchases looked reckless, but together they had changed an inconvenient repair into a decision about whether to break his own safety line. The repair did not create the thin margin. It exposed the room that earlier checkout decisions had already removed. Without the $180 installment stack, the original $400 margin would have covered the repair and left $20 without touching the buffer. This is where the original choice changes meaning. Pay in 4 had felt like a way to protect cash, but it protected the balance visible on the purchase day by selling pieces of flexibility from later paydays. The checkout screen had shown him one small plan at a time. His checking account had to absorb every plan scheduled inside the same income window. That timing matters. A monthly budget can look fine while one paycheck is overloaded. Bills and installments do not wait for the month to average itself out, and overlapping plans are not some rare fictional twist. In a CFPB study using 2022 data from 6 large providers, about 63% of buy now, pay later borrowers originated multiple simultaneous loans during the year, and 33% did so across multiple lenders. That does not mean every overlapping borrower was in financial trouble, or that every payment hit the same paycheck. It does show why looking at one plan at a time can miss the real cash flow picture. The psychological trap is simple. Every checkout asks whether one small payment feels affordable. Life later asks whether all scheduled payments fit beside everything else. Those are not the same test. So one practical defense is to use the paycheck as the unit of measurement. Call it the payday commitment check. Map every payday the proposed plan would touch. Under each one, place every essential bill and existing installment due before the following deposit. Then reserve the buffer you have chosen not to spend. Whatever remains is real room. Not the account balance, not the credit limit, not the amount due today. The room after existing claims. There is no universal buffer that works for every household. The point is to choose what you need to protect and make it visible before checkout. Then add the proposed plan to every payday it would touch. The plan fits only if every affected pay window still preserves the room you chose to protect, not merely if the first charge clears. A week later, a $240 tablet he had been considering appeared at checkout as $60 today. This time, he did not start with the button. He opened the payday map. The existing payments were still there. The essential bills were still there. The repair had already used his $220 of spendable room, and the protected buffer was down to $140. The first $60 would cut the remaining buffer from $140 to $80. That alone was enough to reject the plan under the check. 3 more $60 payments would then place claims on later pay windows. So he waited. That decision did not feel as satisfying as bringing the item home immediately. The tablet stayed in the cart. Nothing dramatic happened. That was precisely the point. He stopped the pattern before one purchase became 4 more dates. By the following payday, the older installment stack had started to shrink. No new plan had been added. The remaining dates were visible in one place. The paycheck still had obligations, but it also had room that was genuinely available. That is the difference. At the beginning, the balance looked full, even though earlier decisions already owned part of the paycheck. Buy now, pay later is not automatically a disaster, and one small plan does not define anyone's financial life. The trap begins when each plan is judged alone, while future income has to carry them together. So before asking, can I afford this payment? Ask the better question. How much of my next paycheck is already spoken for, and what room will still be mine? If you want more ways to protect the room inside your paycheck, subscribe to Wealth Made Clear. This video is for general educational purposes only and is not personalized financial advice. The next paycheck may look less impressive once every obligation is visible, but the room left inside it is real.